What in the damn world has been happening to Hedera HBAR over the last few days and few weeks here? I can't even begin to put my finger on the first bit of news I should share with you guys, because honestly, they're making a little rift shift in this damn market. They're literally going to tear it a new ass in the bull run, and I cannot wait to share with you some of those bullish features. Now, for those of you like myself who have your bags packed, or they're almost already packed and you're all set and done, well, this is going to be that little bit more conviction. You know, most of us already have the foresight. We already know Hedera is the damn shit, right? But for all of you who are on the fence, or maybe even for some of these skeptics out there for some reason, and there are many of you in the comments calling it a scam, well, I can't wait to show you this, and I can't wait to be the person to tell you I dumped on you in the 2025 bull run. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into today's news. Now, as you can see, what better place to start in crypto than the damn chart on CoinMarketCap. Guys, right now, HBAR is up 35% on the month, but suffice to say, the general sentiment in the market helped push HBAR to this point. The news in of itself hasn't. Now, that is an indication to say, hey, hang on, Karen, this news is so crazy, but why hasn't HBAR pumped crazily because of it? And this is typically the news with most cryptocurrencies out there. And I want to give you a prime example. A few months ago, like 3 months or so, Chainlink came out with a massive upgrade they were working on for like 2 years, CCIP. Now, when it launched, there was no massive amount of news. But what happened is, when the news eventually reached the mainstream, when of course the fire was lit underneath Chainlink, and of course the degen started buying it, they had to latch onto some news, and of course they found CCIP. Now, I'm telling you this story because the news I'm going to share with you today, as I teach in my course, which actually is going to be out next week, you guys should definitely pay attention for that. Of course, they have to latch onto something, right? And typically it's what's the project's been building in the bear. Now, I think it's suffice to say, HBAR is one of those altcoins that has been building the most in the bear, as we'll see today. And so I think the news will really take effect in the 2025 bull run. So let's not waste any more time. What am I talking about? Well, the first bit of news is kind of going to pair up with the second news today, okay? And that's this. Now, the Office of National Cyber Director, or the ONCD, requests public commitment on harmonizing cryptocurrency regulations. So today, the White House Office of National Cyber Director is announcing a request for the information, so that's an RFI, on cybersecurity regulatory harmonization and regulatory reciprocity. What does this mean? Well, to be honest with you guys, most of what's mentioned in this article, by the way, dated July 19th, kind of is just gibberish that just goes straight over my head. What they're kind of getting at here, and I didn't actually know what an RFI was until I researched this, was they're pretty much going out to the mass market saying, hey everyone, there's a massive issue because most sectors in our, in the economy, basically in the public and private sectors, we're all using the same sort of cybersecurity software. We're all using the same hardware and software measures. Isn't that a bit dangerous? And so what they did, and again, I don't really understand, I at least didn't understand what an RFI was till I researched it, was they're pretty much saying, hey, private sector, can you guys come up with a solution to this? What do you all think? And we're going to go with possibly whoever provides the best solution, right? And again, an RFI is a request for information, which is a formal process for gathering information from potential suppliers of a good or service, right? So the request typically is intended to narrow down a list of potential vendor candidates. So why this all ties into HBAR is because, again, this was sort of published, back in July. Well, HBAR, as of, again, like 3 days ago here, said, hey, the White House, guess what? We have a solution for you. They proposed a solution or response to the White House for this particular thing, which was this, right? And again, just like the sort of RFI proposal from the White House, this just has a whole bunch of stuff that goes straight over my head. I'm not going to even attempt to tell you guys. I know what they're talking about here. There was 4 main solutions to what they sort of said in this particular proposal here. They sort of answered these questions on this sheet, right? There was 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if I read those, it's going to mean absolutely nothing to any of us. I can't even begin to put into words what that kind of is. Okay, but again, what we have to kind of be concerned with here is the conclusion, what they're sort of summarizing. Just like any good, high school kid does when he's studying for an exam, we'll read the end part, and that should hopefully clarify everything, right? We welcome the opportunity for further dialogue regarding open source security and how the Hedera network open source community can collaborate with the administration to foster the long-term sustainability of open source platforms that enable enterprise applications for both the public and private sector. So they're pretty much saying, hey, we can work on some sort of open source solution to what you're saying, And again, they kind of outline it in this particular article here. So of course, that's great. Okay, so what Hedera is based on, this is part of the bullish news, is HBAR is essentially saying we can provide a service. Now, of course, this was like open to the market, so anyone could have gone through and proposed a said solution. But it's interesting because, again, this came out on November the 9th, or November the 10th, right? One day before this news here was dropped as well. Okay, so HBAR Foundation announced that one of their sort of ecosystem platforms called Tyon, I think it's pronounced Tyon, every time I say it, it's going to be different. But Tyon actually launched their private beta of their solution, right? Now you're thinking to yourself, Karen, what's Tyon? Why does this have any sort of relevance to what you just said? Well, Tyon is essentially secure data, right? There is on-chain data security service that is like highly encrypted from the source to the destination. They do everything. Like they're essentially Filecoin on steroids. So much so that they've actually worked with, get this, the National Science Foundation, which I'll touch on more, and the United States Department of Defense and United States Department of Energy. They've got grants and they've been working with them for research and development, as we can see right here with the SBIR grant, right? This is at least for the National Science Foundation. This was phase 2. For those who are not familiar with SBIR, it's essentially a government agency that facilitates sort of like the funding to, private sector agencies or entities like, of course, Tyon here, from other, US government agencies like Department of Defense, National Science Foundation, so on and so forth. Now, we as the public are only able to see as far as phase 1 and phase 2. There is a phase 3, but we don't know that because it may become an issue of national security if they fund a project like Tyon, for example, and they end up going with it. Well, then, anyone can do anything to Tyon at that point. So I want to introduce you guys to a channel partner, not a sponsor of this video, but rather a partnership that I've created to help all you aspiring traders. I know I have a large audience of you guys who either sometimes trade, casually trade, or again, want to aspire to be a full-time trader. Well, I've partnered with Bybit today because, as most of you should know, it is one of the most used exchanges out there and actually one of the most liquid as well. It's particularly suited for those who want to trade in any little nuanced way possible. I'm going to mention some of those nuances in a second here, but if you guys did want to create an account with Bybit, if you were impressed at all, please go on any of my descriptions, scroll down to the first link under the Want to Trade section, aspiring full-time traders, and click my referral link to access Bybit. Over there, once you do sign in, again, you will support the channel in that way as well, you have a whole host of options, right? One of the cool things is you have the spot market, but you also have leverage trading, which means you can, put in $1,000 and trade with 10,000. Of course, there are associated risks with that as well. But also you can margin trade, which means that you can put up your crypto assets, keep them locked up so you don't have to sell them, and then trade with their associated, equivalent, right? If you put $10,000 worth of XRP in, you can trade with $10,000. Of course, it's collateral. So if you lose it, you lose it. But of course, that allows you to be more flexible. If you make it back, of course, you keep the asset. It's just very, very simple as that. So that's a really cool benefit. But also they do have multiple different ways you can trade with derivatives. They have options, they have futures. It's just expands, right? But some really cool options that I think you guys need to check out here is under the tools section, you can use Trade GPT to trade as a GPT or an AI for you. Really cool is if that's kind of scary to you, and I get a lot of people that's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, it allows you to just DCA as well. You can literally make this bot just DCA for you. It's kind of nutty in a way. Also, you can copy trade as well. So you can copy trade some of the top traders in the spot realm. So, when they buy and sell, you just copy that. Pretty cool, pretty simple. But what I quite like about this is it also has access to futures contracts as well, something other exchanges can't say, which is awesome. So with that said, guys, if you are interested in Bybit, please go ahead and support the channel. Use my link down below. And of course, with that all said, let's get straight back into the video. We know that, as you can see here, the award start date way back in 2021 and end date was somewhat recently. So again, they could be working on phase 3 at least right now with the National Science Foundation. But needless to say, this is big because, again, they're leveraging Hedera, more specifically the Hedera consensus service, which essentially means that Tyon, these guys over here, have their own private network, which they actually leverage a Hyperledger Sawtooth, which is just like a blockchain, right? They leverage their own private network, but to, verify that information, they leverage Hedera's consensus, right? Their consensus service. So they kind of like putting information back over to Hedera saying, hey, can you confirm, can you confirm, can you confirm? And this adds that level of security that, of course, enables Tyon to be one of the best in the entire market, right? The actual founder, I think it's Dave is his name. He's got me blocked on Twitter, by the way, so I can't show you too much about Dave, but I don't know why. But Dave has actually got like 25 years worth of experience in that particular market, right? He's the Gilbert Verdon of quant for, distributed security. And it's quite interesting because his solution, right, again, Tyon, allows some pretty interesting stuff. So through TFS Lite, which is again their current solution, institutions are now able to, for the first time, store entire files and computer file systems on the blockchain, making them encrypted, immutable, and tamper-proof for the entire life cycle of the data. Tyon's platform has been peer-reviewed nationally by major corporations, academic institutions, scientists, and also has been tested with the US Air Force, actually tested to protect their mission-critical Air Force test range data. So again, why does this go back to the first news, and why have I kind of paired these two things together? Well, again, timing, right? November the 9th, they provided their solution to something that was published way back in July. So obviously been working on it, and you can't tell me that timing wasn't on purpose, because one day later they said, hey, we're going to help you guys build this sort of like cybersecurity open source, at least proposal to this platform. But then we're going to also tell you guys about someone that's building on us who does exactly that, who does it on a level unlike no other, okay? So again, you kind of combine these things with the fact that, these guys might be small, right? Tyon is like, 1,700 followers. They've been doing this for a while now, right? Back in February 2020, they announced that they're in the later phases with their core blockchain that's been developing with the Department of Defense and US Air Force back in 2020. But it's all sort of coming out now at a crazy time, and especially since these agencies know about HBAR, they know about Tyon, and especially since HBAR is offering a solution. It's just interesting timing, right? I think no one can deny that. So that's why I was kind of like, wow, this is really interesting. You guys need to know about this, because if this actually came to fruition, again, this is something that would happen over many, many years. It might coincidentally come out in 2025. Most cryptocurrencies tend to plan massive updates and upgrades around the time of a bull run for more, well, it's a great marketing scheme, right? For more attention. But it may come out then, it may come out later. Either way, we know that there is potentially steps happening underneath here. Again, Tyon, leveraging HBAR, is working with these massive agencies that HBAR has now gone, hey, we got a solution for you guys, or at least we can help you on a solution. Pretty interesting. Now, the last bit of news for today actually comes from the co-founder and current CEO of the HBAR Foundation. Shane Higdon actually was invited to speak on behalf of Hedera, or the Hedera Foundation, on something called the TIE, which is, as we'll touch on in a second here, hosted by the New York Stock Exchange. Right now, Shane actually touched on three very important things that HBAR is kind of like forefronting here. So they're exposed to real-world assets, and I think most of us should know by now the gravity of HBAR and what they're doing with real-world assets. Also, their stablecoins. Now, they recently come out with their stablecoin solution called the Stablecoin Studio, which has some pretty big names already leveraging it. We can go on that later if we need to. And then also their overall tokenization strategy, right? Now, I'm not going to go through this particular thread because anyone can read a thread, and I would just be like a preschool teacher reading this out to you guys. So I'll leave the link to this down below. But again, what is the TIE, right? Again, the TIE is a crypto corporate access event. Therefore, you need to be specifically invited to speak here, which is hosted by the New York Stock Exchange. And the TIE is like a third-party entity in a way, and we can kind of read through this if we need to. But moral of the story is they facilitate these institutional investors from the New York Stock Exchange, or some of the biggest institutions in the world, to, really important crypto technologies here, essentially crypto businesses like, as we can see down here, Avalanche, Polygon, Tezos, and HBAR. These were some of the lead speakers at this event, and it was attended by the likes of Goldman Sachs, Citi, BNY Mellon, State Street, Coinbase, Gemini, BitGo, so on and so forth. These large institutions that are looking to leverage blockchain technology, DLT technology, right? And so, of course, Shane's gone up there and done a nice speech about everything mentioned in this particular thread. And his overall takeaway was people were very interested in HBAR. They had their own private little meetings that you could arrange based on, of course, whatever was discussed on the main stage. And apparently that went really, really well for HBAR, which of course is fantastic because they are starting to see more institutional adoption with HBAR. Now, I want to give you guys a little listen to what Shane actually says in this particular recent HBAR Foundry interview here, and he basically summarizes that they are working extremely hard to bring in 2024 more institutional clients on board.
And then finally, the other key area of growth driver, access to Wall Street. Up until now, we have not had a concerted effort of getting focused on the institutional investor. And we do, our vision is bringing things, on chain, and because we can change lives, right? Whether it's, supply chain and transformation there, whether it's, your latest NFT project built into and with your latest brand. There are ways that many organizations are changing lives, and they're going to do it through and by running on Hedera.
Yeah, so you heard it from the man himself. Okay, again, he is the co-founder and current CEO of the HBAR Foundation, purposely tasked with earning money for HBAR, right? Creating more revenue streams. And actually, he went on to say in this particular, I guess you could say podcast, right, interview, he said that the last financial year, basically, the revenue was $300,000, right? That was the revenue. And this year, the last financial year's revenue was $3 million, right? So he has increased that tenfold, and now he's looking to increase that even more. But he mentioned, and I do agree with him, of course, he is an expert at what he does, that if you were to look at that sort of revenue gap in a startup, you would be like, wow, they're onto something, right? And that's what he actually says. He's like, this is obviously proving that we are onto something here, okay? And you only have to take a quick look at the governing council to realize that this ain't no regular cryptocurrency, guys. This isn't a list of potential services that we see Amazon or Google Cloud all the time saying, a project saying, hey, we're partnered with Amazon Web Service, but they're really not. They just leverage part of their, their cloud, basically, right? They kind of, there's a hyperbolic realization of what they actually do together. But in this case, these are actual partners, real damn partners and governing council members. So I don't think I have to convince anyone really that this is a big deal. You can believe it or not, but ultimately this is happening. You look at the TPS, 3,000 to 4,000 on average now. It's only the beginning. So with that being said, guys, let me know down below what you think. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, if you have found the information useful, and please double like the video if you are someone who has conviction in HBAR. I'll talk to you all soon. Take good care. Bye.